She told me while I was holding a tray of shrimp. Literally, tray in both hands. Guests arriving in 20 minutes. Spotify blasting some synth pop garbage I didn't recognize. And there she was, standing in the doorway like she'd practiced the line in her head 100 times. I've been seeing someone. No preamble. No, we need to talk. Just that. I didn't even put the tray down. I just stared at her and said, "What?" Even though I'd heard every syllable. She tucked her hair behind her ear. She always does that when she's nervous. But there was something worse than guilt in her expression, relief. "I can't lie to your face tonight." Oh, how thoughtful. 10 minutes later, I was sitting on the bathroom floor with my tie still undone, trying to figure out if I was dreaming or just finally losing my mind for real. The party wasn't canceled. She still wanted it. Said, "People are already on their way. Let's just get through it." Like it was a dentist appointment. I wish I could tell you I walked out, that I made a dramatic exit. But no, I stayed. Like an idiot. Like a performer. I smiled. I poured wine. I nodded while people complimented our matching wreaths. Meanwhile, every 5 minutes I was scanning the room wondering which guy was him. It didn't help that she kept checking her phone under the table like a teenager. But you know what pushed me over? It wasn't the confession. It wasn't the fake smiles or her disappearing upstairs for 10 minutes to fix her makeup. It was the look she gave me when I dropped a glass. Just a small accident. Someone bumped into me. The glass hit the floor, shattered. People gasped. And she looked at me with this embarrassment, like I had ruined her night. That's when I knew. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just a prop in her story. But what I did next, that part was mine. I don't remember deciding to stay. I think part of me just dissociated. Like my body stayed to host the party, and my mind crawled into some quiet corner and started rocking back and forth. I could still hear people laughing in the living room, clinking glasses, complimenting the damn charcuterie board I spent 3 hours assembling because presentation matters, or so Kendra always said. She was floating between guests like nothing happened, smiling, pouring drinks, laughing at things she wasn't even listening to. I watched her from the kitchen doorway and wondered how long she'd been this good at pretending. Maybe longer than I realized. Maybe our whole marriage was just a well-maintained illusion, and I was the only one who thought it was real. I kept thinking, which one of these people is he? Was it Scott, her coworker with the overly white teeth? Or that guy Trevor who always finds reasons to text her? Every man she hugged made my stomach twist. Every smile she flashed felt like a knife under my ribs. She didn't look guilty. She looked free, like someone who'd already stepped out of the relationship and just forgot to close the door behind her. At one point, she caught me staring. She held my gaze for a second too long, then looked away, like I was the awkward cousin at a wedding she didn't want to acknowledge. That did something to me. Something cold. I wasn't angry yet. I was humiliated. I felt small in my own home. Like I was the one who cheated. Like I'd done something wrong just by being there. Then came the toast. I wasn't going to do one. Obviously. I just wanted the night to dissolve. But Kendra, in all her delusional grace, clinked her wine glass with a fork and said, "Before the night gets too blurry, my sweet husband has a few words for us." The room turned toward me. I wanted to say no. I should have said no. But I stood up, cleared my throat, and walked to the center of the room with a glass of cider in hand. I didn't prepare a speech, but my brain started spinning something anyway. Something sharp, something honest. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Kendra and I have hosted this party every year since we got married. It's sort of our thing, our tradition." She smiled at that. Actually smiled. Like she thought I was going to carry on the lie. "But traditions change," I continued, letting the words come slower now. "Sometimes people grow. Sometimes they outgrow the people closest to them. And sometimes they fall in love with someone else." Silence. Thick, instant silence. I saw her face drop just half an inch. She blinked, like she couldn't believe I was doing this. "I just wanted to say how grateful I am to have friends here tonight," I added, "because it's nice to have people around when your wife tells you, an hour before the party, that she's been seeing someone else." Gasps. Shuffling. A broken laugh from someone who thought I was joking. "I'm not kidding," I said, raising the glass. "So cheers, to honesty, to starting over, and to finally seeing things for what they are." I drank, set the glass down, walked straight past her and into the kitchen, where my hands started shaking so badly I had to brace myself on the sink. She didn't follow me. Not right away. But when she finally did, her eyes weren't full of regret. They were full of rage. And that's when things really started to fall apart. The moment she closed the kitchen door behind her, I knew I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. She didn't yell. That would have been easier. No. Kendra just stood there, arms folded, jaw tight, eyes sharp enough to cut granite. The party noise outside seemed miles away now, muffled by the cheap hollow core door. All I could hear was my own heart pounding in my ears, like it was trying to warn me to shut up, back down, fix it. What the hell was that, Dean? Her voice wasn't loud. It was low, the kind of low that meant you were about to get flayed alive. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to. God, I had 1,000 things I wanted to scream in her face. But I just stared at the woman who, hours ago, was still calling me babe, like nothing was wrong while scrolling through Spotify to pick the night's playlist. The same woman who asked me to iron her ugly Christmas sweater that morning, who made me laugh at a TikTok over lunch. And now she was standing in front of me like I had humiliated her. What else was I supposed to do? I finally asked. Talk to me like a grown-up. Not blindside me in front of all our friends. You blindsided me. With Colby. That was private. You didn't have to make it a freaking announcement. That word stuck in my throat. Private. Like her confession came with a non-disclosure agreement. Like the betrayal only counted if it made a scene. I took a step toward her. I didn't mean to intimidate. I'm not that guy. But she flinched like I might throw something. And that hurt more than anything. How long, Kendra? Does it matter? Yeah, it does. 5 months, she said, eyes locked on mine. But only emotionally for the first 2. And before you ask, no, I'm not sleeping with him. Not yet. Again with that yet. Always that word sitting at the edge of her sentences like a lit match waiting to drop. Why? I asked, but it came out more like a whisper. Was I really that easy to replace? She looked away then. Not down. Away. Like she couldn't even aim her pity in my direction. It's not about replacing you. It's about feeling seen. Understood. He listens. He makes me feel like I still matter. So I didn't. You stopped. You stopped trying. You checked out months ago. That broke something in me. Because the worst part? I believed her. I knew I hadn't been perfect. I'd been stressed, distant, lost in work and bills and fighting off a quarter-life crisis like a swarm of bees. But I thought we were still in it together. I thought we were struggling in the same direction. You should go back out there, she finally said. They'll be wondering where you are. She walked toward the door. I couldn't move. My legs felt like wet concrete. Before leaving, she turned back one last time. Whatever this is, Dean, it's not all my fault. And then she was gone. The door clicked shut, and I just stood there, blinking at the space she'd left behind. It wasn't silence. It was something heavier, something final. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had already seen something. Something she forgot to delete. Something that made everything worse than I imagined. And I was done being the nice guy. I don't remember walking upstairs. I barely remember brushing past people who awkwardly averted their eyes, pretending to be engrossed in crackers and brie while clearly whispering about what just happened. I locked myself in our bedroom. Our sanctuary. At least, it used to be. Everything in the room felt staged. Like a department store bedroom setup. The smell of her vanilla-scented lotion still hung in the air, and I hated how much I noticed it. Her hairbrush. Her slippers angled neatly under the nightstand. The stack of unread books she always bought but never touched. All of it mocked me. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to collect myself, but my mind wouldn't stop spinning. 5 months. That meant she was already seeing him while we were on our stupid weekend trip to Saugatuck. While we were watching bad horror movies on the couch and pretending things were fine. She was texting him in between holding my hand. Then I saw her iPad on the nightstand. She always left it there. And stupid me. I told myself not to. Told myself, don't become that guy. Don't look. Don't give her a reason to say you're the villain. But my hand was already moving. No passcode. She never set one. Said it was just for Netflix and Pinterest. I tapped open messages, then mail. Nothing. Clean. Too clean. Then I found it. A notes folder labeled Journal, Private. I don't even know why I clicked it. Maybe I hoped to find something human. Maybe some guilt. Some entry where she cried over hurting me. Instead, I found a timeline. Literally, a timeline. June 12th. First conversation with C. July 8th, lunch. Talked about his divorce. July 26th. Told him I'm not happy in my marriage. August 3rd, he kissed me. I let him. September 17th. Booked hotel. Canceled last second. Still feel guilty. There were pages of it. Paragraphs, even. Like she was documenting her slow betrayal as if it were some sort of twisted novel in progress. But the worst part? She didn't hate me. Not in her words. She called me kind, predictable, safe. She said she wished she could feel for me what she used to. But that, the mirror never lies. What the hell did that mean? I kept reading. Couldn't stop. It was like watching a car crash you're sitting inside of. There was an entry about me making her cry by not noticing her haircut. One about how I always kill the mood by talking about my job. One that said, I miss how Colby looks at me like I'm still electric. I closed the app and just sat there. She called me safe. Like I was a mattress. A life vest. Something designed to be used. I don't know how long I was up there before I heard the knock on the door. It wasn't her voice that called my name. It was Trevor, her friend. The one she always insisted was like a brother. Hey man, I think we need to talk. That was the exact moment I realized this night had layers I hadn't even begun to unwrap. I opened the door half expecting to punch someone. Trevor stood there, holding two half-filled solo cups like he'd just wandered away from beer pong, not an emotional war zone. He smiled, awkward and tight, like a guy about to confess to a crime and hoping a drink would soften the impact. Hey Dean, got you one. I didn't take it, just stared. He exhaled and leaned his shoulder against the doorframe like we were buddies at a barbecue, not the wreckage of a marriage. Look man, I wasn't going to say anything tonight. I figured, not my business. But after that toast, you deserve to know. Know what? I asked. My voice came out dry, like I hadn't spoken in years. He took a sip from his own cup before answering, which instantly made me want to smash it out of his hand. It's not just Colby. My vision did that thing where everything narrows, like a camera lens pulling focus too fast. What are you talking about? I asked. There was another guy. Before Colby. Last winter. He was a musician, I think. Open mic scene. He came to one of our parties. I blinked. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. Why the hell are you telling me this now? Trevor looked genuinely uncomfortable. Because I've seen this play out before. My sister went through the same thing. Her husband cheated, and no one told her. We all sat on it, tried to be neutral, and it ruined her. He paused like he expected a thank you. I didn't say a word. Look, Kendra's not evil, he added. She's just lost. She spirals when she feels ignored. And lately, man, you've been. Don't, I snapped. Don't tell me how I've been. You think I don't know I've been distracted? You think I don't beat myself up every day for working too much, for being tired, for not being the perfect damn husband? He stepped back, startled. I hadn't even realized I was yelling. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I just thought you should know. He turned to leave, but I stopped him. Why are you really telling me this, Trevor? What do you want? He hesitated, just for a second, but I saw it. The flicker. The hesitation that said this wasn't just about loyalty or guilt or moral high ground. You've had a thing for her, haven't you? He didn't deny it. That told me everything. Nothing ever happened, he said too quickly. But yeah, I noticed her. Who wouldn't? And yeah, we talked. Late nights, after you'd go to bed. It was never physical, Dean. I swear. But I probably crossed lines emotionally. I just stared at him, my fists clenched, my skin buzzing with this toxic mix of humiliation and rage and pure, white static. Get out. Dean. Out. He left without another word. When the door closed, I turned around and saw our wedding photo on the dresser. Kendra's laugh frozen in time. My hand around her waist like I actually believed forever was a thing. And that's when I decided. I couldn't stay in this house. Not another night. Not with all these ghosts pressing in from every wall. But I wasn't going to leave quietly, either. If I was walking away from this marriage, I was going to leave her with something to remember. I didn't sleep that night. The guests trickled out one by one, most pretending not to notice the nuclear crater my toast had left behind. A few tried to hug me. Some gave Kendra a wide berth. A few people whispered in the kitchen. I heard someone say, honestly, I always thought she was too good for him. And I don't even know if they meant it or were just trying to say something to fill the space. I waited until the last person left, until Kendra gave up pretending and retreated upstairs without a word. I heard the bedroom door close around 1:12 a.m. I was still sitting on the couch at 3:40 a.m. when I made the decision. I was done, not just with her, with this house, with the entire version of me that allowed all of this to happen. I wasn't going to stay and fight for scraps. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to compete with men who played guitar at open mics or gave her attention while I was trying to keep the damn bills paid. But I wasn't going to vanish quietly either. I pulled out a duffel bag and started packing the essentials. A few clothes, my passport, external hard drives, important documents. I was in the closet digging out the fireproof lockbox when I saw it. An envelope wedged between two books on the top shelf. It wasn't labeled, just a plain manila envelope with the flap folded once, like it had been opened and quickly hidden. I almost left it alone. Almost. Inside were printed photos. Dozens. Most were of me and Kendra, selfies and vacation shots I didn't even remember taking. Some had dates scribbled on the back in her handwriting. But as I flipped through them, they changed. Suddenly, it wasn't just us anymore. There were pictures of her with a man I didn't recognize. Not Colby. Not Trevor. Someone else entirely. They weren't inappropriate. No kissing. No touching. But they weren't innocent either. Coffee shop. Museum. A bookstore we used to go to together. The same places she once told me were too boring now. There was even a picture of the two of them in our backyard, standing near the fence, both laughing. What gutted me wasn't just the fact that she had these. It was how she looked in them. Carefree. Bright. Lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. And that's when it hit me. These weren't mementos. They were keepsakes. This wasn't just a one-time betrayal. This was a pattern. A habit. A lifestyle she kept behind the curtain while I was in the audience clapping for the show. I sat down on the edge of the bed, envelope still in hand, and I don't know what exactly broke in me, but it wasn't rage. It was grief. The kind that makes your hands shake and your lungs forget what they're supposed to do. She came in just before sunrise. Didn't knock. Just walked in like nothing had changed. You're really going to leave without even talking? I held up the envelope. She froze. Who is he? She didn't answer. Didn't have to. You kept these, I said, voice cracking. You hid them in our closet. Still, no answer. Just that same tight jaw, the one she uses when she thinks emotions make her weak. I didn't plan for it to happen, she finally said. He was just different. He listened. I felt like I mattered again. You said the same thing about Colby. I know. And Trevor. Silence. I stood, walked past her, grabbed my bag, my keys, my coat. She didn't follow. But just as I opened the front door, I heard her voice behind me. You can leave, Dean. But one day, when you're alone and angry and hollow, you'll look back and realize I wasn't the only one who failed here. I didn't turn around. I didn't slam the door. I just left. But what she didn't know was I had one more stop to make before disappearing. And it was with someone who might finally tell me the truth she never would. The sun wasn't even up when I parked across from the red brick townhouse I hadn't seen in almost 3 years. The last time I stood on this street, I was holding a bottle of bourbon and a congratulations card, back when Colby moved in after his divorce. He told me once he liked this place because no one expects anything permanent in a rental. I waited in the car for a while, unsure why I came. Maybe I didn't want to talk to Colby. Maybe I wanted to punch him. Or maybe I just needed someone to finally say the truth out loud. At 6:41 a.m., the porch light flicked on. I got out, crossed the street, and knocked before I could change my mind. The door opened slower than I expected. And when Colby saw me, his eyebrows lifted just enough to tell me he'd been expecting this moment eventually. You want to hit me? He asked flatly. Not yet, I said. He opened the door wider, motioned for me to come in. I did. His place was small, clean, and smelled like fresh coffee and citrus cleaner. No sign of Kendra, no women's shoes, no perfume cloud in the air. Still, I scanned the place like a crime scene. She said it wasn't physical, I said. It wasn't. You expect me to believe that? I don't really care if you do. He walked into the kitchen and poured 2 mugs of coffee. No sugar, no cream, just straight black. He slid one toward me like we were old friends catching up. So why her? I asked. You could have had anyone. Colby leaned against the counter and stared into his cup. She was broken. You ever meet someone and just recognize the damage? That made me laugh, bitter and loud. Sure, I married it. He didn't laugh, just nodded slowly, like he respected that line more than he should have. We talked, Dean. That's all it was. She'd call, cry, say she felt invisible. I didn't sleep with her. I swear to God. She wouldn't let it get that far. But she kept the option open. He didn't answer. I sipped the coffee. It tasted like ash. She loved the attention, I said. You made her feel shiny. Meanwhile, I was the idiot paying the mortgage and fixing the damn sink. You were her husband, Colby said, voice calm. That was the problem. Excuse me. It was too real. You reminded her of everything she was failing at. You were the mirror. She couldn't stand looking. That hit harder than I wanted it to. And the worst part? I knew he was right. There was someone before you, I said. Maybe more than one. Colby looked surprised. Just for a moment. She told me you were drifting. That you didn't listen anymore. That you hadn't touched her in months. She told you everything. Not everything. She left stuff out. But I saw it. He pulled open a drawer and took out a notebook. Thick, black leather cover. No labels. He tossed it on the counter in front of me. She left this in my car last month. I didn't read it all. I felt weird even opening it. But you might want to. I hesitated. Then opened the first page. It was her handwriting. The same tight, slanted script she used in birthday cards and grocery lists. The first line stopped me cold. If I ever disappear, don't let Dean spin the story. My throat closed. I flipped ahead. Pages and pages of entries, some short, some long. Thoughts, memories, fears, regrets. Half of it didn't even make sense. But one theme kept repeating. She thought I resented her. She believed I had emotionally checked out years ago. And she was terrified I'd rewrite her into a villain to avoid looking at myself. I didn't know about this, Colby said. If I did, I wouldn't have stayed in contact. I closed the journal and pushed it back. You can keep it. Why? Because I already know my part in this story. I don't need her to spell it out. I stood up. My knees felt shaky. Colby didn't try to stop me. So what now, he asked. Now, I said, heading to the door. Now I burn it all down. But not how she thinks. He didn't ask what that meant. But I knew exactly what I was going to do. I didn't go home. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever again. I drove 4 hours west to my brother's cabin near the lake. No cell signal. No Wi-Fi. Just the sound of waves tapping against the dock and a fridge stocked with beer I didn't drink. For 2 full days, I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't post. I didn't scroll. I just existed. I chopped wood even though it was already warm out. I threw rocks into the water like I was angry at it for still being calm when everything inside me was a storm. I reread that one line from her journal. Don't let Dean spin the story. And hated how much it stuck with me. She was right about one thing. I was spinning it. I told myself I was the victim, that she was the monster, that if only she hadn't cheated, if only she hadn't lied, I'd still be okay. But the truth was, I wasn't okay long before Colby or Trevor or that musician in the photos. I had stopped trying too. I just did it quietly, respectably, the kind of emotional neglect you can't post screenshots of. And somewhere in those silent days by the lake, I realized something that changed everything. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to win the breakup or expose her online or play the sad ex-husband on loop. I didn't want to stalk her social media or count the days until she regretted it. I just wanted my life back. And maybe, finally, to build one that was mine to begin with. So I did. 3 months later, I signed a lease on a small apartment in a city I used to dream about living in before I got married. I bought secondhand furniture. I hung my own art for the first time. I got a job teaching music to kids at a community center, something I used to be too busy for. It doesn't pay much, but when I hear a shy 8-year-old finally hit a clean chord, it feels like currency no bank can hold. Kendra and I finalized the divorce with no fanfare. No court battles. Just signatures and silence. She didn't ask for alimony. I didn't ask for the house. We exchanged 2 short emails and never spoke again. And one day, out of pure impulse, I pulled out my phone and wrote the message I'd never send. You were right. I stopped seeing you. But I see myself now. And I think I like him. Then I deleted it. Because she didn't need to hear it. I did. So no, I didn't get her back. I didn't ruin her new life. I didn't expose every ugly truth. I just chose peace. And if you'd told me 6 months ago that peace would feel better than revenge, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am. Free. Still healing. Still scared, sometimes. But for the first time in years, not invisible. And that, I think, is the real win.